Well, it was only a matter of time. Here we go, full-blown sanctuary city in Kansas City, Missouri. Bring it on, baby. Woo! Good morning. It is good to be here on KCMO. I hate to start off the show sharing this news with you, but, I believe it's going to end up being one of the top stories of the week and the month in this town. Yesterday, Mayor Quinton Lucas at 4:30 in the afternoon, and my phone started blowing up right after this X went out on his social media page. He writes here, and he shares this article to a Bloomberg story headlined, "New York City migrants are being welcomed by Kansas City's mayor to fill jobs." And the mayor goes on to write here, "All are welcome in Kansas City. Proud to work with my fellow mayors like Mike Johnston," he's the mayor of Denver, "and the New York City mayor, Eric Adams, as we work to ensure decompression of new arriving communities and collaboration among cities, labor, nonprofits, and federal officials." And the headline from Bloomberg, "New York City migrants are being welcomed by Kansas City's mayors to fill jobs. Mayor Quinton Lucas seeks to attract those who have newly arrived in the U.S. to fill jobs in the expanding region." Now, right out of the gates, this is terrible policy for a plethora of reasons. I'd be curious to know how we can help those Kansas Cityans who want to get a leg up. What we can do for Kansas City residents in poorer communities who may want to find themselves as beneficiaries from the construction and manufacturing boom that seems to be benefiting the Kansas City region at large. How can we catch those people up to speed? How can we get them in a position to capture some of these jobs that apparently are out there right now and people are looking for? The Bloomberg article goes on the note here, building a battery plant for Panasonic is going to require 2,000 workers. Of course, that's going on in DeSoto. We know about that. And the article writes here, Kansas City Mayor Quinton Lucas has a hunch that migrants with work permits could help alleviate the labor shortage that has built up as his city posts some of the region's fastest economic growth. Is that really what it's about? Or is it about the second part of this paragraph? This could also help ease the burden on cities like New York that have struggled to provide housing and support for an unprecedented influx of new arrivals, many of them asylum seekers from Latin America. Which one is it? I mean, there's plenty of jobs in New York. If these are people who are actively looking to get into the labor force, trust me, go around New York City. There are plenty of jobs when it comes to construction, when it comes to people needing a hand. You got a metropolitan area of 20 million people in New York City. You're telling me there's not, some construction outfits looking for some employees who want to hustle? Who could hire some of these folks if they truly do have those skill sets? I'm not buying this for a second. I'm just not. This is about politics. This is about working one's way up a political ladder and doing what the powers that be at the national level would perceive to be good policy. It's not good policy, but they would perceive it to be good policy to help out a struggling New York City. Did you see yesterday in New York City? They had thousands of illegal immigrants who were outside of, various government buildings, basically demanding or protesting or trying to figure out where they're going to stay that night. They don't know where they're going to stay. They have nowhere to put them. So let's tie it back to Kansas City. Because I'm not buying the fact that everyone's just going to show up. We're going to live this hunky-dory life. Everyone's going to have a manufacturing job or a construction job here in town once they come from New York City to Kansas City. It's going to be amazing. We're going to have an apartment for them. We're going to have a job for them. I mean, it's going to be a utopia you've never seen in this town, apparently, if you listen to the people in charge. But there's little to suggest that that's how this is going to end up. You know why? Because we have evidence of this in New York. We have evidence of this in Chicago. We have evidence of this in many major American cities today who are struggling with no places for illegal immigrants to sleep, no jobs, nothing for them to do outside of figure out where they're staying on a given night and how they're going to get to the next day. And it has overwhelmed these governments. And do you think for a second this government in Kansas City is in any way prepared to handle this? I don't. And I don't know why you would. We are dealing with a lot of problems in this town. We're coming off a record year for homicides in Kansas City, which topped the record year set in 2020. Now, don't misread what I'm saying here. Don't say they're going to come here and start shooting. No, it's true that the vast majority of people who are here illegally are seeking a better life. That's undeniable. I'm not suggesting otherwise. But it is also factually accurate that increasing illegal immigration leads to increasing crime numbers. And I have the data right in front of me. Anyone who wants to tell you otherwise, I've got the data right in front of me, and here's what I'm going to share with you, just so you've got the numbers as well. Okay, so we're all on the same page, and I'll put this up on social media at some point this morning. A 2021 Department of Justice report revealed that 64% of federal arrests in 2018 involved non-citizens, despite them comprising only 7% of the population at the time. Now, you go back to 1998. It's about a 20-year study here. In 1998, over 60% of federal arrests were of U.S. citizens. Under 40% of federal arrests were of non-U.S. citizens. By 2018, those numbers have basically flipped. Over 60% of federal arrests are of non-citizens, despite them comprising only 7-8% of the population. Federal arrests of U.S. citizens is now, give or take 35-36%. So clearly there is a direct relationship and correlation between an increasing number of those folks who are not here legally and how that can lead to more crime. Maybe not the most heinous crime, but it doesn't matter. Any crime committed by somebody who is not legally supposed to be here is an avoidable crime, is a crime that should have never taken place to begin with. That's the fact. And these numbers that I've just laid out, you're not going to hear anywhere else. I found this study, and this is from the Department of Justice. It was revised January 27th of 2021. It's an official federal document that I'm reading from here. It's not somebody's opinion. It's not somebody twisting facts. It is a federal document from the Department of Justice that clearly shows non-citizens end up getting arrested on a federal level at a far, far higher rate than they are a percentage of the population at large. And the mayor in this town announced yesterday on his social media pages that, the more the merrier. Come on in. We've got jobs, and we're ensuring the decompression of new arriving communities. What a bogus way to say we're helping bail out New York because of the crappy border policies of Joe Biden. And we're helping bail out Joe Biden. And by the way, here's my resume. Kansas City had a good run. But I'm telling you right now, for a lot of people who have a lot invested personally and business-wise, this is not going to go well. Depending on what these numbers end up looking like, it is not going to go well. Because there's also a homeless issue in this town that needs to be addressed. And by the way, those who will get impacted the most by this are those working class and poor people in Kansas City who need more help and more services. They're the ones who are going to get impacted, not folks living off Ward Parkway. 913-408-7957. I've got the homeless numbers on this that I got to share with you coming up. We'll also get to your reaction here because this is, we'll see how other local media covers it, but this is a huge story in this town. And it will have ramifications beyond KCMO proper, by the way. 913-408-7957. I'll get you those numbers coming up. Mark Alford will be here at the bottom of the hour on KCMO 95.7 FM. Well, this report came down yesterday. Not even a report, just news came down yesterday. Bloomberg first dropped the news. New York City migrants being welcomed by Kansas City's mayor to fill jobs. There's been a lot of bad ideas by City Hall in the last few years. This is up with the best of them. You know, there's this notion that everyone's going to come here, and they're just going to come here to look for work. They're going to come here because they want to work in Kansas City. They were in New York. They were in Denver, the other city we're probably going to try to bring some folks over from. But they really want to work here in DeSoto, Kansas. You know, things just weren't working out great in Denver and New York. So they're like, DeSoto, that's the place to be. Here they're building a big old Panasonic plant out there. I mean, come on. Who's buying that? Nobody. They create this utopia in their minds. But amazingly, when you actually see this play out right now on the streets of New York, Chicago, Denver, it never looks like the utopia they promise. And that's why, I just bang my head against the wall with this stuff. You guys know that we have the mayor on every Thursday morning here on KCMO. He'll be on tomorrow as far as I know. But I'm sitting here and I'm saying to myself, what are we doing? I mean, Kansas City is coming off a record year of homicides. We've got an explosion of homelessness in this town. And what we need right now, apparently, is an influx of individuals who don't speak the language and who don't have clear, discernible skills. Now, if there are people who want to work for construction outfits, I mean, that's a conversation to have, I suppose. But that's clearly not what these major American cities are dealing with. They're not dealing with thousands and thousands of migrants who really want to work, who just can't find the right construction gig. I'm sorry, that's not what's going on here. If you believe that, I've got the beachfront property in Salina that still has your name on it. You just got to call the station and we'll hook you up. I'll get you connected with my realtor. It's just nonsense. So now, what about the homeless issue in this town? Well, this article comes from the Kansas Reflector last year, and it notes that on any given night in Kansas City, there are about 1,800 people who are homeless. 1,800 on any given night. That number has exploded, by the way, since the pandemic. And you see it, right? You see the tents set up all over town. We take your calls about some of the homeless issues all over Kansas City and how it has exploded in the wake of COVID, and no one's done anything about it. And once again, I'm not suggesting that every person that might come here as an illegal immigrant would be here just to be a bum and live in a tent. That's not what I'm saying. It's more nuanced than that. But the point is, there are people in Kansas City who need a hand up, not a handout. There are people in Kansas City who need access to resources right now, who can't get them, who want to further themselves and better their lives. And we owe it to them as a city and to them as a region to give them every opportunity to help improve themselves, improve their own lots in life, and improve this community at large. And to think that the answer is to somehow ship in folks who came across the border illegally. You can have sympathy for people, but you know what? In a zero-sum game, I'm going to have sympathy for the people here first. I'm going to have sympathy for the people in Kansas City first and foremost. That's what I'm going to do. It's not about, you don't have any compassion. I have plenty of compassion. But this is one of the reasons the border crisis has been such a mess for the guy in charge, because nobody knows what to do and how to go about doing it the right way. You're spreading people all over the country, and there is clearly no plan, none whatsoever, on how to make this work for the cities and how to make it work for the citizens currently involved. Well, Joe Biden wants to make sure he's got the corner and the marketplace for WNBA fans, which is like 7 people. But he wants to make sure that he's got them in his back pocket. It's going to be a razor-thin election, so he figures every vote counts. This is the dumbest argument I'm seeing anywhere over the last few days, and it involves the WNBA, Caitlin Clark, and where that league is headed going forward. I know you probably, maybe you haven't, so let's talk about it here on KCMO. Good morning, 7:05 on a what has been already a very busy Wednesday on KCMO 95.7 FM. Stream us on that KCMO Talk Radio app. You have seen since 2 nights ago, the WNBA draft took place, and Caitlin Clark was, of course, the number one pick, the star out of Iowa. And Caitlin Clark has gotten a lot of attention here. Well, she's gotten a lot of attention for a long time, but she's gotten a lot of attention here over the last couple of days because of what her salary is going to be. Caitlin Clark's WNBA contract will see her make $338,000 over the next 4 years. You know, depending on the year, it's like $78,000, $76,000 her first year, $78,000 her second year, $85,000 her third year, and a fourth year option for $97,000. So people are using this and they're saying, oh man, gosh, the number one pick in the NBA draft last year got a $55 million contract. Oh man, this is, equal pay, equal pay, equal pay. Oh, that's what people are saying right now.
What are we talking about?
And Joe Biden is making sure that he is jumping on this bandwagon as well. He's trying to take advantage of literally stupid people who have never done business. Joe Biden wrote on X yesterday, "Women in sports continue to push new boundaries and inspire us all. But right now we're seeing that even if you're the best, women are not paid their fair share. It's time that we give our daughters the same opportunities as our sons and ensure women are paid what they deserve." Now, I'll say this as a father of 3 young girls, and I know Joe Biden's also the father of a daughter. Unlike him, I'm not going to be sharing with them when they're teenagers. So I'll just say this as a father of 3 daughters. I will teach them that the marketplace ultimately always wins. The marketplace is always right, John, and I will expand on that here in a second.
Mm-hmm. I wondered if Megan Rapinoe had written those comments for Biden, actually. There's a brilliant video on YouTube where Shannon Sharp is explaining to Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco,
yes,
the scale of economics about why the women... and it's like a dad talking to a 10-year-old kid. It's like Ocho Cinco does not get it.
No,
and
a lot of people
Russell
don't.
Wilson, I think he commented. I didn't read it, but I thought, come on, dude, why don't you pony up some bucks you got left over?
Yeah, you fleeced out of Denver, right?
And go ahead and invest.
Yeah, please. Russell Wilson, yes, also one of the stars that has spoken out here over the last 24 hours and insisted that Caitlin Clark should be making more money. He wrote here on his X page, "These ladies deserve so much more, praying for the day." Well, let's be clear. The day might come. The day may come when the WNBA is a profitable outlet. The WNBA loses millions of dollars per year. The NBA is a $10 billion operation that profits $3 billion per year. The WNBA loses about $10 million as a league per year. It is effectively a charity. It has not garnered the attention where it's a profitable sports league. So that's what the salaries are based on. Just like in the real world, if your company or your business or you do not bring profit to anything, your salaries are not going to be the same as a company that has billions of dollars in profit. That's economics. That's not anti-woman. That's not anti-women's sports. That's simply basic economics in a free market capitalistic society.
And while they're waiting for the WNBA to be able to be profitable, Caitlin Clark can make money from Nike, State Farm, everywhere else.
And she will make a tremendous amount of money. So it's entirely possible that the WNBA becomes a much more watched league because of Caitlin Clark. And then salaries do go up. I mean, if Caitlin Clark single-handedly helps the WNBA blow up, then everybody will make more money in the WNBA. If people start buying tickets and watching on TV, then this league will start seeing increases in salaries. Not because people are trying to close the pay gap or anything like that. I put up my air quotes when I said that. But it will be because, suddenly there's money to be made in the league. And that's all this is about. It's not about women versus men. It's about simply making money. This WNBA salary discourse is one of the most ridiculous things you've seen here in recent memory. And by the way, that's saying something. The league has been around for 30 years and never once turned a profit. That's what the salaries are based off of.
Well, and the sidebar argument would be the false ceiling of pay for an NBA player. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That a guy would get paid that much to play basketball.
Yeah.
But that's what the market bears.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
It is. I mean,
isn't that one of the most out of control leagues for salaries still?
It is. It is. Like third guys off the bench now are making $10 million a year. It's
Bingo.
ridiculous.
Right. And so to say, well, the women should make $10 million, it's like, no, the guys should make $10 million. Let's bring it down on the top.
I would argue the NBA guys are making too much.
Bingo.
They are. You got the superstars of the NBA making $50 million as the ratings keep going down in that league.
And it sets up this false narrative argument that they have that, they're not getting their equal pay to the guys. No, the guys are getting too much.
Yeah, they seriously are. Now, if you want to look at hope for the WNBA, there is hope based on just the draft ratings. So you look back from the draft ratings were great, 2016 through 2023. The WNBA draft ratings, how many people watched just the draft, fluctuated between 250,000 and 500,000. 2 nights ago, 2.5 million people watched the WNBA draft, in large part because of Caitlin Clark. If that trend continues into the games, you will see this league start becoming profitable, and you will see the superstars start to make a lot more money. And I want that. I want everybody to make as much money as they can. But here's the thing. People just have not put their money where their mouth is. They haven't spent money on merchandise, on games, tickets, watching it, and more. Jeremiah's in Leavenworth. Jeremiah, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Long-time listener, love your show. I'm curious how many people that want to legislate equal outcomes actually even have gone to a WNBA game. And furthermore, the people who want to legislate the equal outcomes by doing these things to the owners they're going to wreck the league. And I think it's a really sad, state of affairs. I get it that the guys are maybe getting paid too much. I kind of agree with that. But, somebody's ponying up the money for it because there is so much. The highlight reels on SportsCenter feature dunks and high-flying action that go halfway up the backboard, and we just don't get that same level of excitement. So the WNBA, I hope for their success that there could be an angle of excitement and something they could bring to the table to make it on their own. And I think you'll get there with the Clark starting.
Yeah.
Try the throttle going a little bit for the league.
Jeremiah, thank you very much, my man. The phone's cutting out a little bit on me, but your point is well taken and well noted. It is spot on. If Caitlin Clark lists this league, they will have a chance to become a profitable league. The salaries will astronomically increase, and everybody will make more money. Think about what Tiger Woods did to golf. Tiger Woods made golf appealing to the average person. Viewership skyrocketed. What then happened? Sponsors flooded the marketplace. The purses in the PGA Tour skyrocketed. A lot of people became very rich because of Tiger Woods' existence on the PGA Tour. Caitlin Clark could do that to the WNBA. We'll have to see how her first season shakes out, what the ratings are, if people put their money where their mouth is and they actually go out there and buy tickets. And if they do that, guess what? Everyone's going to make more money. But it really is just trying to appeal to the lowest common denominator. When Joe Biden is on social media saying, it's time we give our daughters the same opportunities as our sons and pay women what they deserve, said the guy who literally does not know basic economics, and that is evident in basically every economic policy he pursues out of that White House. 913-408-7957. Coming up, this may be my favorite moment of the week. You see what happened to Red Lobster or what they're considering? And I got to bring, you know what I got to bring back, right? You know what I have to bring back.
I'm not worth your Red Lobster money.
I'll explain it coming up and what's going on with Red Lobster on KCMO. Welcome in. Busy morning across Kansas City. But before we get back to some news here locally that I want to touch on, I had to share. I just was laughing to myself yesterday when I saw the story. Not that I'm rooting for this, but Red Lobster is reportedly considering filing for bankruptcy to relieve financial pressures that have weighed on the company. According to a report by Bloomberg, citing people familiar with the discussions, Red Lobster is weighing a Chapter 11 bankruptcy filing to renegotiate burdensome leases and address other long-term contracts as well as rising labor costs. So, is it safe to say that Americans have decided that Red Lobster is not worth their Red Lobster money? Is that...
I'm not worth your Red Lobster money.
Is that a fair... Oh, Jesus! Is that a fair analysis of that story? I think it might be.
I don't know, man. This inflation's been a boon on seafood in the Midwest with the filet of fish going up $1 or $2. And, you know, we're just not on the waterways.
I still have not been to a Red Lobster yet. I know some of you say I got to go for the biscuits, but if I'm going to a seafood place, not for the seafood, that's a problem in and of itself.
Well, bingo. I remember we had comments and somebody likened it to trailer park seafood. So the fact that you can buy the biscuit mix in the store now might be their problem because you don't have to go to the dealer now for your crack. You just go to the grocery store and make it at home.
Well, you might be onto something there, John, in terms of why they're struggling. I also saw a report recently that showed that Red Lobster, the percentage of people who are going to eat at Red Lobster who make at least $100,000 a year is the highest in the history of Red Lobster. And the percentage of people who make under $50,000 a year who are going to Red Lobster is at a record low, which really is a broader conversation on how the inflation is basically impacting people. People who make less money are just going out less, and people who make more money are eating at places that they traditionally may not have eaten. But with the story around Red Lobster, I had to break this out from 2 years ago. All right, I had to break out the full clip. Pastor Funderburk. If you don't recall this story, this is 2 years ago. I put it up, by the way, on Twitter yesterday, at Pete Mundo. You can see X, sorry. It's from 2 years ago now. Pastor Funderburk here in Kansas City. Church at the Well was busted in a now viral TikTok video. The sermon came on August 7th, and he was roasting his own church because they weren't buying him that Movado watch that he desperately wanted. Let's roll the tape. Full tape for the first time in a couple of years.
See, that's how I know you still poor, broke, busted, and disgusted because of how you've been honoring me. I'm not worth your McDonald's money.
Not these days, brother. No way.
I'm not worth your Red Lobster money. I ain't worth your St. John knit. Y'all can't afford it no how. I ain't worth y'all Louis Vuitton. I ain't worth your Prada. I'm not worth your Gucci. You can buy a Movado watch in Sam's.
Yes, you can.
Oh, yeah.
And y'all know I asked for one last year. Here it is the whole way in August. I still ain't got it. Y'all ain't saying nothing. Let me kick down the door and talk to my cheap sons and daughters. I don't want to hear no more excuses about what y'all can't afford. You can't afford it because you don't see the value here. Y'all hear from y'all pastor and father, I'm over y'all. I'm over your cheap expressions.
I'm over your cheap expressions, he says, John Anthony.
Well, the opening line is classic. Besides the Movado watch and the whole thing. No, that is ideal. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? I know you all cheap, disgusted, and busted.
Broke, busted, and disgusted.
There we go. What a great commentary on the economy.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not worth your Louis Vuitton.
You know, I had to look up St. John's knits. I didn't even know what that was. I look up St. John knit, and they're like $400 to $1,000 tops for women. Like, who's buying this stuff? I mean, my goodness. I had no idea what a St. John knit was. I literally looked it up on Google. And yesterday, right after the story broke, I saw it in the was at the gym. I saw the story. I'm driving home. I'm on the phone trying to book an appointment for a physical at my doctor. And I'm on hold, and I'm laughing the whole time to myself thinking about this story. And I just started, doing it in the car where I was thinking to myself and I was talking to myself and I was like on hold. And I'm saying, I'm not worth your Red Lobster money. Oh, Jesus. And the lady picked up the phone right as I was in the middle of it. Oh, man, it was like, she was like, hello, sir.
I'm not worth your Red Lobster money.
She's like, is everything okay over there, sir? I'm like, yeah. Sorry. I was talking to somebody else. My bad.
Yep.
Didn't mean to do that.
Just need some cheddar biscuits.
So Godspeed. Red Lobster will stay afloat here as they consider filing for bankruptcy. Did you see, day 2 of the Donald Trump hush money trial yesterday? Gosh, I mean, there are so many things that I think regular people are waking up thinking about today in Kansas City and around the country. And I don't think that Donald Trump's criminal trial, which is only a criminal trial because the statute of limitations around the payments to Stormy Daniels have, of course, gone beyond their limits. So that's why the DA there in New York, Alvin Bragg, has to charge this as a criminal case. He can't charge it as a misdemeanor case because statute of limitations is passed. So now it's a criminal case. And we all, know what's going on here. One, it's helping Trump, like all these things have helped Trump. And if you don't believe me, did you see what happened yesterday in Harlem? Donald Trump was in Harlem yesterday after his day 2 in court as the jury selection was continuing for this criminal trial. And you tell me the last person you saw in Harlem who had an R next to their name get this kind of reception outside of a bodega, or as Joe Biden would call it, a bodega. I mean, that's Trump in Harlem, New York yesterday outside of a bodega. Mostly people that don't look like him surrounding and taking over the street, chanting 4 more years at this guy. Now, I'm not sitting here predicting a landslide win or anything like that, but something's going on. Something's happening where people are seeing through the scam that all of these trials are and what they've become. Now, that being said, what you also had yesterday was a media very intent on talking about Donald Trump apparently falling asleep. If you haven't seen the reaction here, and there's been stories written about this, cable news has talked about this, it appears as if Donald Trump may have dozed off in the courtroom for a few minutes during the hush money payment trial as the first couple of days of jury selection are taking place. And CNN, I mean, this was like headline news there, right? They're not going to talk about how grocery bills up 20%. They're not going to talk about how you can't find a place to live. No one can buy a house. Inflation remains too hot. Jerome Powell saying yesterday rate cuts aren't coming. But Trump dozing off in court, oh, man.
And 40 minutes ago, you wrote an observation that I was very surprised. Trump appears to be sleeping. His head keeps dropping down and his mouth goes slack. Tell us about that.
Well, Jake, he appeared to be asleep, and repeatedly his head would fall down. There have been other moments in other trials, like the E.G. Carroll trial, which was around the corner in January, where he appeared very still and seemed as if he might be sleeping, but then he would move. This time, he didn't pay attention to a note that his lawyer, Todd Blanche, passed him. His jaw kept falling on his chest, and his mouth kept going slack. Now, sometimes people do fall asleep during court proceedings, but it's notable given the intensity of this morning and a lot of what was being argued.
All right, so that was Jake Tapper and Maggie Haberman talking about, obviously the biggest thing that everyone's talking about, which is Donald Trump potentially dozing off during the first couple of days of the jury selection for this criminal trial in New York City. That's it right there. And people start pushing the hashtag Sleepy Donald and things like that. And whatever, it's clever, it's cute, it's funny. But boy, they have spent more time on Donald Trump potentially dozing off in the courtroom than in any way mentioning or discussing the guy who, right now is in the White House, who is clearly, when it comes to the mental acuity and when it comes to, the old manness that exists, clear as day, not up to the task. I mean, you hear these guys talk side by side. It's not even close, right? You hear them, you interact with them, you see them on TV, you watch them on social media, you hear their clips on the radio. It's not even close. Now, it doesn't mean I'm thrilled that we got two guys who are combined 160 years old running for office and, running to be the president. I think that's a problem in and of itself. But it is very clear that age, when you watch these two men, is just a number. One still has all the mental faculties that you would want. The other, it's not there anymore. It's it's not. No, it's not there anymore. It's not. But there has been, as you roll through some of the articles on Yahoo, the Daily Beast, places like that. Here's the headline from the Daily Beast. Perfect storm. A sleep expert analyzes Trump's trial nap. I would love for them to analyze, what we've been watching for the last 3 years, which is a clear mental decline of the guy who, right now is the leader of the free world. I'd love to see their sleep experts. By the way, you can put the word expert after anything and just get someone's opinion on something, and suddenly they're, a sleep expert. I'd love to get the sleep experts' opinions on what we're seeing every day right now from the guy in charge, because I don't think he's sleeping all that well. As far as I can tell, he's not speaking all that well. He's not making a lot of sense. But my goodness. Then you see the reaction in places like Harlem. You see, by the way, NYPD. This went viral yesterday, too, as he was walking out of the courthouse.
Can we get a picture? Can we get a picture? Sure. President, can we get a photo?
Hey, fellas, come here. I love you guys.
Get over here. We'll get a Get in there. Woo!
Get over here. We'll get a picture. Half a dozen NYPD officers. I mean, they basically are like, Mr. President, as he's walking into his black SUV. And he's like, hey, fellas, love you guys. And they're, looking for selfies and the whole thing. You can poo-poo it. You can stay in your little bubble and insist that, what we're seeing isn't real and Joe's going to do his thing again. And maybe you're right. But, man, people are seeing through this charade. And that's clear as day. And it's for a lot of different reasons.